All right, here we go. Well, I never would have thought that the feeds of the network for weather service would ever go down, but hey, it's always a first time, right? Oh gosh. All right, so yeah, I've made some realizations the last couple days, given what was going on over there in Israel, and watching people be so happy that Israel's getting attacked, and you hear different stories whether or not the attack was aggressive or not and all that shit. And I don't relish anyone's suffering. I don't care. I don't play those games of relishing somebody else's suffering, because I know that the conspiracy world is pissed off at the government. Right wing, left wing, whatever. Whoever's in office, Biden or Trump or whoever, or Obama. And so if you have a segment that's in resistance, regardless of who's in charge, there's always going to be the left's going to be in resistance to the right, and the right's going to be in resistance to the left, and everyone's going to be like, oh, we have no control over our government, and then when they say if you vote for something, it's still not enough for people. They have no control over their government, really. But the government's there for a reason. And so to relish citizens who have no control over their government, to relish their suffering, whether it's Palestinian or whether it is Israeli. And I'm sure I've taken part in that too, so I'm not innocent in all that, because I had to figure out how do I even angle this problem? How do I figure out where, I don't know, man. I had to go through that process myself. But there is no joy in relishing someone's suffering, especially when they can't control their government. They can't control the powers that be. They can't even control their own military. You're told, go to the military because of A, B, C, D, and F, and G, and you do it. You can't control the president. You can't control the Congress. I mean, yeah, you could say, well, we vote them in every so, but still, it's not enough for people. And so I relish no one's suffering. The Israeli citizens can't control what goes on. They're just like you and I, sitting here waiting for something to happen or not happen. They're only defending themselves, whether it's Palestinian or Israeli. So I would not play this game of relishing the suffering of innocent people, regardless. I wouldn't be attacking anyone. I wouldn't be taking a side against any person, place, or thing, because it's not your war. It's a government war. It's a government war with the people that you then are told to defend yourself, unless you're backed into a corner. And when you're in America, you either have to stand your ground or stay home and stay safe. Don't put yourself in positions to be attacked. But if you're in a third world country, yeah, there's weather wars, there's other kind of wars that go on. People have to figure out how to defend themselves. And the governments are going to attack whatever they're going to attack, and you won't know the full story, so don't take a side. So I was thinking this morning, I wrote something about, I'm a citizen of the world. Laying no claims against a person, place, or thing. I will neither attack my body, mind, or spirit, therefore not attack anyone else's body, mind, or spirit. And that includes recommending somebody remedies. That includes doing the drinking and the drugs and the smoking and the cigarettes. I don't do any of that. I don't do cannabis. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I don't do anything that would involve someone to harm themselves, directly or indirectly. Okay? And it takes a while for a person to speak from that kind of authenticity, because it means you have to get off your addictions. You have to get off of all your different vices that would cause harm to even yourself. Because if you're against somebody else being hurt by somebody else, then you have to look in your world, what are you doing to yourself? Causing harm to yourself. And food is not harmful for the intention. My coffee is not harmful. The pasta that I eat is not harmful. The bread that I eat is not harmful. The water I drink is not harmful. And so I will not attack foreign or domestic enemies in my body, mind, or spirit. But I will defend myself until the very fucking end. Am I going on people's Facebooks and telling them they should do this, this, and this? Am I going on people's Facebooks and telling them that they should take this remedy, they shouldn't do this, or should do this? No, I'm not. Even when people come through and ask me questions about the jelly juice world, saying, whoa, will jelly juice attack parasites? I'm like, don't ever attack anything. That's the standpoint I've always come from within the last 3 years. You don't attack anything in your body because you're attacking yourself. You're poisoning yourself when you have the intention to attack microbes in your body. And I don't care what they are. They could be a cancer, disease, and chronic illness. It doesn't matter. You have an immune system. That's what has to be reinforced. And you can't be the one to determine what is the good guy, what's the bad guy in your immune system. You have an intelligence if you understand how to read indicators and characterize symptoms properly. And so I will not attack foreign or domestic enemies in my body, mind, or spirit, but I will defend myself until the very end. I will neither intend to attack microbes all the way to countries. If I must attack something, I will use a proxy that is sanctioned by the government, only in very extreme circumstances. So yeah, if I have mice, which I haven't had mice in the last few months, okay, if I had mice and, or a bug or something, I can't very well go and try to release the mice somewhere else because they come back. So I let my husband, who's a proxy for that representation of attacking some a pest in my home, let him go and do whatever he has to do. And I'm just like, dude, I can't. And then eventually, if that ever happens where I have to do that, then I will figure that out myself. But I will hire a proxy for those extreme circumstances because my life is more important than the pests that are out there. But I do, now when I do see a bug, I just capture it if it's like a stink bug and I just release it out there outside. Okay? So only in very extreme circumstances will I use a proxy to attack something as a defense. Which is why we're in the pickle that we're in when it comes to aging and diagnosable conditions and terrorism. We have attacked our body, we've attacked our own mind, and we have attacked our own spirit. We've attacked our family, our friends, our pets, even ourselves, and we use government proxies at the drop of a hat. We got used to attacking everything using the government and all their licensed professionals. We did it to ourselves. Yes, we did it to ourselves. Whenever you attack a person, place, or thing, the system comes back and attacks even harder. All systems come back and retaliate. That's the laws of motion. Because equal is cured. Opposite is, it could work for you or against you. It just depends on the intention. That's Newton's laws of motion. You never want to attack anything because the retaliation is that much worse. That's called death. So you saw what happened, right? When that guy was stabbing people over there in Australia. What was the retaliation? It was deadly force. So that's like a symbol. That's a symbol that when someone attacks, then the allowance is deadly force. So imagine that's an visible symbol of somebody attacking children and humans and whatever. But imagine an invisible force, okay, that is causing your body to go through an immunological response that you have already been programmed to characterize as an attack against you. So then what do? A mutually assured destruction. People go get surgeries. They go get oncology. They go get a remedy. They go get another herbal concoction. They spin that hamster wheel even faster, taking their speed 'em up supplements, right? So people actually attack themselves twice over. Well, yeah, because every single time the system changes the climate and causes an immunological response, people attack themselves. Starvation, surgeries, and then eventually death. Some people know this, okay? Governments know this. And so if you feel attacked, make sure you didn't put yourself into a position to be attacked. Make sure you're not attacking yourself with medical or a holistic system, energy healing world. And stay out of harm's way. And you learn not to attack your own body or your children's bodies with remedies and surgeries and what have you. And you find ways to overcome food allergies and your politics against food and your religion against food. Some people are falling apart. They have issues, stability issues, health issues, and yet they're talking about how pig is so bad for people. Pork is so bad. I don't think you can afford to say pork is bad when your body is falling apart. You probably need that pork, but you've allowed the religions to starve you out of nutrients. That's how bad it gets out there. And so if that is the only arsenal in your tool chest is to defend yourself by attacking somebody else and yourself, The system backed you into a corner, making you feel you had no other choice. And you've also backed yourself into a corner. And you've also backed yourself into a corner. Climate change is when all of us are reaping what we have sown. We have all are paying the price together. All of us are suffering astronomically because our happiness for somebody else's suffering is our own astronomical suffering. Your denial that you've attacked a person, place, or thing causing a suffering is still your own suffering in denial. People pay a heavy price sitting and living in denial. Somebody else's misery is our misery. Those who we have condemned for attacking others, we have done it to ourselves and other people in our own world. We have no room to judge anyone for attacking anyone, because we have also attacked ourselves astronomically, but call it healing or justify it through a story, religion, politics, science, you name it. There's a story for every justification to attack a person, place, or thing, or an animal, because we've done it to ourselves. Watching another country's misery because of whatever, we did it to them. We did it to ourselves. And we will continue to suffer until we finally face what we've done to ourselves and children, family, friends, and community. Many people don't survive the suffering because they were not well equipped to do that. They were not well equipped to suffer. Your suffering is somebody else's suffering. Somebody else's suffering is still your suffering. Many people are that disconnected from other humans that they relish somebody else's suffering because they bought into the storyline that were obviously very predictable in the reactions. So when Hamas took Israelis as hostages, which then warranted a retaliation, that's the thing. Regardless of what happened there, regardless if you think it was contrived, it was set up purposely, your reaction gave them the power to not only do the initial attack, but also the retaliation, of which then caused another retaliation. And that's called mutually assured destruction. Your reaction is somebody else's power to destroy. Your denial is somebody else's power to destroy. Your lack of awareness and disconnectivity to the universe is somebody else's power to destroy. Whatever happens, we did it to ourselves in the world. All of us are reaping what we have sown together collectively. I have no joy over somebody else's suffering, regardless of why. And I don't live in denial. I'm not an empath. I don't absorb people's fucked up emotions. I don't come from love, because that's destructive, that's denial, that's a drug covering the suffering. Until that suffering is astronomical, people don't survive it. Facing the suffering, staying out of harm's way, and pointing out the bullshit in our society that people are afraid to point out is me facing the suffering of my society. I don't live in a fantasy land. How do I manage the suffering without it destroying me? I change how I do things. I change my own behaviors. I defend myself. I don't bitch about the weather. I don't bitch about the skies. I don't party like it's 1999 because the world now is not really a party. I fucking change the way I do shit. I don't keep spinning the same wheel pointing out the obvious. Yeah, we're in climate change and it's geoengineered. So you're right. Now what? Are you going to change? Are you going to change the way you do things? Or will you keep pointing out the obvious, preaching to the choirs that are out there? Many of you won't change, so your Facebook will be so predictable with the same pictures, with the same memes, the same activist stance, with the same links, like it's going to change anything. Many of you will refuse to change, to say that it's somebody else's fault. You'll put yourself in harm's way, get injured, and say it's somebody else's fault. That's a predictable reaction. Many of you will get cancer, harm yourself in the medical, holistic, surgical industry, and say it's somebody else's fault. That's how the system got you and will continue to get you. It's so obvious, it's scary. I suffer for you, but I will survive it. You will not survive your own suffering because you won't change. And that's what the system banks on. Your reactions are so predictable. Okay? And so don't ever take sides in any argument out there. War is developing predictable reactions that will always favor somebody else, but not you. War is the depopulation agenda. When you attack yourself and or other people, you bought into the war and the story. And the war is all around you. And so if you can't control your own government, would you want other countries cheering that civilians like you get injured? Cheering for any civilian being destroyed and retaliated upon or attacked is not very empathetic to your own situation. Then you're just cheering for the genocide of civilians regardless of country. You are part of the depopulation agenda. Because you think civilians can control their government when you can't even control your own government. Remember, your own resistance is against your own government. Civilians can't control their government. They don't even control their own military. They're told to either join the military or given a great storyline. But the civilians have absolutely no control over their government. If you're American, you should know this by now, especially with the Vietnam War. Just watching Born on the 4th of July, when Tom Cruise or Rick Kovic was given a storyline that then changed, and then he was hailed as the enemy, a baby killer. See how shit can change just like that? If you're an American, you should know this by now. I don't get how any American can take a side against any country and cheer for the civilians being destroyed or retaliate upon. Civilians did nothing to you. It's the different governments, and they all work together. You can't fault citizens for reacting to actions just like you until you wake up. Defend yourself, which means that you have no power except to defend yourself, your home, and your family. You're looking into the reflection when you play politics, religion, science, dogmatic relations. You are no different than those who you take a side against. You're just cheering for more death and destruction that you're so against until it happens to you. And other people are cheering that you are suffering so much. You can only imagine that those who don't like Americans, so happy Americans are suffering. Wait until the shoe's on the other foot. You won't be cheering for somebody else suffering in another country. You'll realize that was not your war. Your war is in your body, your mind and spirit and family and community. You're in a domestic war with yourself. And so, yeah, when somebody attacks their own body because the system changed the climate and caused an immunological response, and then you're taking cannabis, you're taking surgeries, you're taking all the different remedies, you're getting, all these different operations, same thing as surgery. You're removing your pain receptors, or you're purposely putting yourself out there in harm's way, knowing how the system has changed, knowing how a lot of things have changed. And so be careful taking a side, okay? Because the system will develop a situation where you will react in the way they expect you to react. That is predictable to them. And it's still you choosing to take yourself out of the gene pool. And also your children too. That's the thing about psychological operations, is when somebody pokes the bear, a strong bear will defend itself and leave. If it's backed into a corner, it'll defend itself and leave. A weak bear will go and develop a very predictable reaction that will cause then a retaliation that is so deadly. And I'm telling you, that is the medical holistic energy healing world. Because there are invisible forces that cause immunological responses and visible forces that all work together. And if you can't characterize the energy coming from your body in a correct way, guess what you're doing? You're going to attack yourself and then say it's somebody else's fault. When they say stay home and stay safe, maybe don't go on airplanes, maybe don't go on vacation, maybe don't be out there. And you're out there on airplanes, you're out there doing stuff. And you know that the chemtrails, whatever, contrails, and you know that CERN and Wi-Fi and all these things are causing the environment to be so aggressive that even the light is so damaging. And you don't have pain receptors behind your eyes. People do damage to themselves. They put themselves in situations where they can't get out of. They're not aware of their surroundings. They're in pleasure and paradise and major distraction and denial. And then they wonder why they are a victim of circumstances that they can't control. Well, they could have controlled it by not even going there, but you can't tell them not to go anywhere. So the system does things. The system people do shit. And you don't know whether it's contrived or whether it was somebody organic that reacted to something. You have no idea. And so you'll never know the full story. You will only know what the system wants you to know. You will only know how, you'll only react how the system wants you to react. Don't react to somebody else by attacking or loving them. React to yourself regardless of what it is. Only you know what save is to you. Okay? And so war proxy is when you attack yourself and others supporting aggressive retaliation. War proxy is when you attack yourself and you cheer for somebody else's being attacked and also justify retaliation. Justifying aggressive deadly retaliation even more than what was done initially. And so current events. Be very careful hating or loving or reacting to biological and cultural wars. War proxy, attacking yourself and others, supporting aggressive deadly retaliation. So drones from Iran are nothing against the dome. Imagine what the retaliation will be. Israel and other countries have no problem sacrificing a few for the good of society. Remember that. That's American society. Just look at the medical and holistic energy healing world. Jews and Gentiles and whoever else are all on the table if they serve themselves up to their creators and the government. You are serving yourself up to everyone around you if you don't understand what's going on. Which is why I don't take a side in anything. I will not fall for that emotional, psychological operation reacting to dead bodies and whatever else you think is going on. I have no idea what I'm actually seeing. I'm not there, and I can't do anything but what goes on in other countries or even other households. I will not support death and destruction for anyone. That's psychology. When the bear pokes you, you walk the fuck away. Your reactions are their power. The government plays both sides of the fence. Make sure you know which side you play on. Okay, so when Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying that when the scientists, because they said, imagine when scientists rule the world. Oh, they do rule the world. When they can tell you down to the fucking minute where to be for the whole eclipse, and then the system says, I wouldn't be caught out there, stay home and stay safe. Okay, so the government's playing both sides. They're saying, okay, here's the eclipse. You want to see it? Go out there, whatever, wear your little glasses and all that shit. But also, don't be out there. And you're like, what? People don't even know how to respond to that because they're so used to the government. But they think government's playing one side. But now when the government plays both sides of the fence, the ones that fucking get it will stay home and stay safe because the government knows what the fuck they're doing. And they're trying to warn those that have discernment to stay home. I already knew that. I didn't need the government to tell me. But it was just more confirmation. And it was nice to have that confirmation that IFL Science says, don't be caught out there during the eclipse. Don't be caught out there. And so this applies to everything. Have discernment what's appropriate for you. When the government says, be careful, stay home and stay safe, I would listen. If the government makes recommendations, get a therapy, have discernment if that's appropriate for you. Don't make that choice for somebody else. And so yesterday the devil winds were blowing and the tornado actually, died down or whatever. It was very hot and bright yesterday. And now we don't have radar, or there's sketchy radar. So now we don't even know when a storm's going to come in if we can't even, can depend upon radars to be up. When there are no radar feeds, you won't know when danger's upon you unless you keep paying attention to the skies and the sounds. Always be ready. Never get too comfortable, ever. Okay? And so, yeah, you got to know what the world you're in right now, and it's a war. It's a war of predictable reactions. It's literally a war with predictable reactions. And you have to know how this shit's being played. If you don't understand how this is being played, you will react very predictably. And then people will suffer. And then you'll be no different than those who you are against. And then it will justify the system to retaliate even further and more aggressive against you. And cause you to react even more and more and more until there's nothing left. And so that's the world that you live in. And I've been trying to tell you, you guys are very predictable. And you've been attacking yourself for years and years and years. And so do you really have any room to make accusations against the government, against anyone, when you've been attacking yourself for years? Yeah, if you're a cannabis user, you have no room to say anything about what the government's doing. If you are an alcoholic or a drug addict, you have no room to say anything about what the government's doing. If you keep giving your kids to the system and starving your children because they can't, because you have politics against food, you have issues with the food supply, you have no room to say anything against the government or anyone. Because you have not done anything different in your world. You don't understand the value of food. You keep harming yourself with all the remedies and the surgeries and the lack of change and the cannabis and saying that food is poison when it's not. But you've bought into the stories of the characterizations of food. And so, you know, good luck. But I feel amazing today. I woke up feeling amazing today. This is the first time I've woken up not feeling hives. I can't complain right now. Very clear-headed. I won't take this, I won't take it for granted. I will be thankful for what I feel today. I will be very thankful for the relative peace without rest and peace that I'm experiencing right now. And I relish nobody's suffering. I don't care if they're Israeli or Palestinian or anything else. And when you buy into those wars, and you buy into all this politics, religion, science, and all those different storylines where you relish somebody else's suffering because they did or did not do something, or you think they're the enemy because you bought into that story, whatever it was, that's your own undoing. You have no room to bitch about anything because you are also a major perpetrator in the destruction of yourself and society until you fucking change. Bye.